What is good, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Scoop. Today we're going to be going around something that's been going around the sports social media world, and that is the contract situation of three very notable wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, and Deebo Samuel, all three holding out of their offseason workouts, potentially could be holding out into mandatory training camp if their offers don't come. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so definitely not as much of a analytical video, I guess, but it's obviously still very important. I think, obviously the NFL draft is brewing. Make sure you guys tune in, draft live stream. Always got to plug that. But yeah, I mean, I think Dylan, at the end of the day, I just I'll never fully understand this. I'm not an NFL player, but I've never understood. We saw it with Deshaun Watson that sitting out on one of your prime years. And I know obviously guaranteed money. I know that's obviously important. And again, I want to state that I am obviously probably missing something, but it's just something to me that I've never understood. I've never understood wanting to sit out when these guys are 25, 24. Actually, McLaurin's turning 27. But still young for receivers. And again, Dylan, I think just before we kind of dive into each player, at the end of the day, you're seeing McLaurin, you're seeing Deebo Samuel, you're seeing AJ Brown want new contracts because of the market, the explosion of the market this year. I mean, if I'm them, and obviously I'm going to give them credit, if I'm looking at the deal Christian Kirk got, the deal Tyreek Hill got, the deal Devontae Adams got, the deal that the big receivers got this offseason, and again, these are three elite guys, especially Deebo Samuel coming off the season he had, which again is kind of a argument against him, is that you've only had one elite season. That's why a lot of people are saying he shouldn't be paid, but I would want that money. I would want to be getting paid, that much money, obviously. So I think it's, at the end of the day, it's obviously understandable, but to me as a fan, it just sucks because if these three elite receivers sit out, it's just a dent in the NFL for next season. So I hope it doesn't happen. But that's kind of my initial thoughts on just the situation between the three guys.
Well, I would say that there's probably a less than 1% chance that all three of these guys sit out going into the season. But I think there is a very good chance that at least one of them gets traded before the start of the season.
I think before the start of the draft. I think we're on draft day.
Maybe on a draft day trade, yeah. But we're going to get into each of them. My quick take on it, and I agree, sitting out in one of your prime years, Deshaun Watson obviously is an anomaly of sorts with all the legal drama going on in his situation. But there are players that sat out. Le'Veon Bell in his prime years, he sat out for a contract dispute. Earl Thomas sat out for a contract dispute, and they were never the same again. Melvin Gordon sat out. Never the same again. And I don't think these guys will sit out. I don't think they're that petty, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And even if they have a shortened training camp, injuries, especially with Deebo Samuel, with the increased usage and his past injuries, and AJ Brown, who was injured a lot this season, and Terry McLaurin, who was injured a lot this season, if they're not playing the full training camp, that could be an issue for them. Obviously don't want to predict injuries. That's just not something we do, but it is something to keep an eye out for. I just want to start off with Terry McLaurin because I think in both of our eyes, he is the least likely to be traded. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, he has kind of been the guy. And Dylan, I think also Deontay Johnson is now being thrown into this as well. I guess we won't talk about
Deontay Johnson. Maybe. I don't think he's being thrown into this conversation because it's the fourth year receivers that's what's really being talked about. And it's the Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and they're going to throw Marquise Brown in this conversation soon. I'm sure. They'll probably find a way to throw some other people in here, but
yeah. And again, I mean, DK Metcalf, a guy I did a video on, he's still kind of, it seemed to, the noise definitely
seems like he's taking the leadership role in Seattle.
Right. Exactly. We saw him say that firsthand. But I mean, again, I think it goes down to, we've seen all these receivers get these like lucrative deals. We saw, obviously, I forgot to mention Stephon Diggs, but yeah, I think when it comes to Terry McLaurin, a guy who definitely seems, and I don't want to say this wrong, but more humble than Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown.
Well, he's not causing as much drama on the internet.
Definitely a quieter. Yeah, exactly. You said, like, kind of not the Twitter fingers. Definitely seems like a much more quieter guy. At least from what I've heard, I don't think he's deleted any of the Washington stuff off of social media, or kind of cause that disruption. And again, that to me is all the childish stuff that they do behind the scenes to get the front office to kind of obviously fiddle with them, get them to move their way.
To negotiate.
Yeah. Again, Terry McLaurin, I think, is one of those guys where I don't think Washington wants him to leave, and I don't think he wants to leave. So I think at the end of the day, that's kind of where they're at with him. So I doubt Terry McLaurin sits out the season. I think he is, where he is. And again, I think he'll get his deal. Like, I think Washington will pay him. Whereas I think the two guys, maybe they won't. I would, if I were rank it, I would say the most likely get paid. The most likely or most makes the most sense. I think McLaurin makes the most sense. I think AJ Brown makes the most sense. And I think there's a very viable argument on why Deebo might not make sense for the 49ers because he wants to be paid the most of any non-quarterback in the NFL, which, I mean, we just saw Denzel Ward land the biggest, $20.1 million per year, and he's definitely not the best corner in the league. So we could see it happen. But
I don't know where Cleveland's acquiring this type of money, but
no one knows. But yeah, I mean, for as far as it goes for Terry McLaurin, I'd say he stays. Again, not a very tempting topic there. I think Terry McLaurin's quite timid. And
I think Terry McLaurin's as well going to stay quiet, and he's going to stay. But I'm going to give you, just for argument's sake, the reasons that he might leave. And it's that he is turning 27 soon, as we touched on earlier. And he knows he's not going to win a ring in Washington. So for a guy with the slight injury problems he had at the end of last season, knowing that he's not going to win a ring in Washington, he wants to get either really, really get paid or he wants to chase a ring. And there are tons of teams that are ring worthy that could take a wide receiver. That's Green Bay, that's Kansas City, that's New England, that's even Indianapolis, that are willing to take on a bigger contract like his. And I think there are teams that are willing to make that trade. The reason that I don't think he's going to go is I feel like he is more inclined to suit it out internally. I feel like he enjoys playing for the Commanders. And I don't think if he does really want to leave, I think he's more willing to play this last year on his rookie deal and then go into free agency and get the bag. But
I don't think he'll find the position, the role he has in Washington anywhere else.
I do think he can find that in Green Bay, and I do think he can find that.
He has a very unique role in Washington.
Yeah.
So again, I think that's
I think if he was to end up in Green Bay, I think he'd be a top 10 receiver, no sweat. But
right. Again, it's still to see what the Commanders do in the draft if they go and get a guy.
I think they hold on to Terry McLaurin, but just for argument's sake, that is the reason he could go and chase a ring.
Yeah.
Moving into, in my opinion, the second or the middle in terms of likeliness, and that's AJ Brown. The reason that I don't have him the most is he's been the most loud. He's been the loudest for sure. The reason that I don't have him higher than Deebo is that he hasn't really worked with the Titans. He's kind of just talked. So it's not a real negotiation as far as I'm concerned. That this is my knowledge of it. I've looked stuff up, but I'm not the front office. I'm not AJ Brown, so I don't know. But there's no public record of them making a negotiation attempt. It's more just talk.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what. And AJ Brown, it's very confusing.
I love AJ Brown's Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, I think definitely, obviously, a very outgoing guy, not somebody who's necessarily controversial. Obviously, they just lost Julio Jones, so if I'm the Titans, I think if you lost AJ Brown, then it would kind of be a slippery slope. I think for Derrick Henry, again, we know
Derrick Henry got paid.
Yeah, right. No, obviously I know, but it's kind of at that point, Derrick Henry's gonna be like, why am I on this team? Tannehill's at the end of his years. This defense is aging. The offensive line's aging. I'm kind of the only X factor guy there.
I do want to touch on Tannehill because if they hadn't paid Tannehill that lucrative deal, maybe they'd be able to pay AJ Brown what he wants.
And I don't think the problem with any of these players is money. I don't think any of these teams don't have the money. I think the Niners issue right now, I'm telling you right now, if the Niners, I think once they get rid of Garoppolo, who has a huge deal, I think they re-sign Deebo.
I agree with you.
But I think right now Garoppolo obviously is holding, because that's what all four Niners fans like, who are we paying? And everyone's like the sleeping monster of Jimmy Garoppolo's contract, who they're obviously hoping to offload, because basically Trey Lance is now confirmed to be the starter next year, which, we all thought. So I think, again, I would assume all of these guys want to go back. The only one I've heard that may not want to return is Deebo Samuel. where he may want to play somewhere else. But AJ Brown again, all it's AJ Brown has obviously been connected to the Jets because of Ole Miss and other places. But I think AJ Brown for me is kind of the guy where it's like he deserves to get paid. I think he will get paid. But again, you're looking at draft night, and I think there's a lot of teams. There's the Jets with those 2 first-round picks, and again, the Jets have kind of been the main team who have kind of emerged to get that receiver. They were emerged to get the DK Metcalf one.
AJ Brown on Twitter said he does not want to play for the Jets, so that's something.
Right, and that's okay. That confused again. That I don't understand that because he loves Elijah Moore, but maybe it's something else. But again,
you can love a player and not want to play on their
right. No, right. And I obviously it's deeper than that. But I think, AJ Brown's the kind of guy I think he'll stay. And I think he's so, he is, there in the history of the NFL, there are obviously the kind of the players like AJ Brown and DK Metcalf and DK Metcalf, I guess, is kind of more of this, but you strike on a physical specimen who definitely has a lot of cons coming out of college, and they are crafted perfectly. And I think Tennessee is the perfect fit for AJ Brown. Again, I'm very confusing sometimes, so hopefully that.
I agree that he is the perfect fit in Tennessee. I think more so than McLaurin in Washington, just because AJ Brown is able to be that X receiver that I think he'd be able to be pretty much anywhere else, but he's not the X receiver on a pass heavy team. So if he were to be the X receiver in Kansas City now with Patrick Mahomes, I don't think he'd make as big of an impact because I don't think he is that top 5 receiver that you need to be a top, the best receiver on a team with Clyde Edwards-Helaire comparatively to having Derrick Henry.
Yeah, right.
So
I think again, that offense, that kind of that trio and that I think having Tannehill is a positive for him because this isn't going to make never mind.
He's a big receiver, but he's also a good route runner. He's also able to make the short and intermediate plays, and he's pretty much an all things go type of receiver. And I think that works well for Tannehill because he can unleash the deep ball, and he is much better on the short ball.
Yeah, exactly. But again, this is what I was trying to say, and I was stuttering. It's Tannehill is again. I'll say this in a very general. Tannehill is great for AJ Brown. I think he plays to AJ Brown and is able to give AJ Brown that connection. And again, like you said, if he were to go to like a Kansas City or a team with, because right now in Tennessee he literally has no opposing receivers.
Robert Woods,
but coming off a torn ACL, or was it an Achilles? It was an ACL. Excuse me.
It was an ACL, but yeah. I wouldn't underestimate Robert Woods.
Right, but I think we saw AJ Brown have so much production because Tannehill simply throws in the ball even when he's not. Had no one else. And again, you go like you got Mahomes. You go, quarterbacks with other options, that production goes down. So I would assume he wants to resign in Tennessee. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And now moving into the last one, and the one that I actually think will not be returning to San Francisco this season, it's Deebo Samuel. And I've got a lot to say on this. I want to let you go first, though.
Yeah. I don't. It's definitely. It's very surprising. It is very, very surprising, and I think, personally, if I'm San Francisco, I'm scrambling to re-sign him. And that's what at least that's what I was thinking at the beginning. But Dylan, I think as NFL fans, we have to notice he may not be as good next year.
Yeah.
And I would think he will be, but he may not be.
I don't think he will be as good. And that's not a hit on Deebo Samuel. It's very hard to be as good as Deebo Samuel was last year. But I think teams won't figure him out, but they'll be able to contain him a little bit more. And I don't think he can keep up the amount of the durability will be an issue.
And we've seen it been an issue. That's the thing. Yeah. It's been an issue the first 2 years in the league.
And he wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, which I don't think San Francisco is willing to do. But even if they were, and they were to offer him that crazy contract, this is a guy who is touching the ball more than pretty much every other skill position player in the league, other than maybe Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. And I think if they spend that money, it's money well spent. But the question to me, and the reason that I think Deebo Samuel does not want to return to the San Francisco 49ers is, why would he want to play under a new offensive coordinator?
Right.
Mike McDaniel was Deebo Samuel's dream fit. They were inseparable, apparently, in the locker room, which I'm very excited about, to have a coach who can like actually connect with players instead of be a robot. But and he designed the perfect system for Deebo Samuel to be Deebo Samuel. And I don't think, and even though Shanahan called plays, I don't think Shanahan is going to be able to replicate what Mike McDaniel did in terms of the run game with Deebo Samuel, integrating Jawan Jennings, and integrating Kyle Juszczyk. So I think that's going to be three problems San Francisco's offense is going to hit. And I think, unfortunately for San Francisco, Deebo Samuel now may not have that connection in the locker room that's keeping him in San Francisco. I want to talk about potential homes for him because I think he's the only one that's going to leave. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it would be the perfect cap to this season. Literally we haven't seen a player like him ever. And then for him to have that one season and then leave, I think if Deebo Samuel leaves San Francisco, he won't be the same. But there's that other factor where, look, you bring in Trey Lance now, who has a bigger arm than Jimmy Garoppolo, is more accurate, is more mobile, can be schemed in many more ways, can run many more plays. Right. No,
he's practically a rookie. I don't know if Deebo Samuel wants to play with the guy that's practically a rookie.
But also, there's very many sides to it because it can also be, well, yeah, he's also a rookie, so maybe they'll just be running Deebo Samuel the ball 50% of the snap. You know what I mean? Like not 50% of the snap, but giving the target share for him. Right, exactly. So it's the pros and cons because more production, more stats, but more chances for injury. I'm not sure how they can incorporate him more than they did last year.
I don't think they can.
Yeah. And again, without McDaniels there, that will be very difficult because he's crafted what Deebo Samuel was. Obviously not fully,
Deebo Samuel's made Deebo Samuel, but Mike McDaniels helped make Deebo
and
Samuel.
Shanahan, obviously we can't, not give him credit.
But when Mike McDaniel became the head offensive coordinator, when LaFleur went off to New York to have fun with the Jets, Mike McDaniel and Deebo Samuel formed a bond that was shown on the field. And I think that will be missing this season. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. I think and again, that's something I kind of forgot of. That's obviously something that was kind of, that's definitely not the most important part of this offseason or the most breaking news part of this offseason. But I think, I mean, do you think it's more than likely he gets, what do you like? Is it more than 50% chance he gets traded?
I think he gets traded. Absolutely.
And when do you think he gets traded?
I think he's going to get traded in the next week.
Before the draft?
I think either during the draft or before the draft.
During the draft to me would be, when was the last time we saw a player like that get traded during the draft?
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. But let's talk some potential homes for Deebo
This is a good one. I don't really know. You give me
yours. And the New York Jets is a good option because they run a similar offense and they have the capital and salary to do it. So I think in terms of team to team, San Francisco's willing to take the 10th overall pick and a couple of later picks for Deebo Samuel. And the Jets, now they have literally the most dynamic weapon other than maybe Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's one that definitely works out. Just something that I'd like to see, and I don't think this is very, very likely. I'd like to see him in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson.
I don't know why, but Baltimore is just like that. The jerseys and like Lamar, like it's just like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, for example, this makes no sense, but Sauce Gardner going to Miami is just, going to Baltimore is just such like this is going to sound like
it just makes sense.
Dirty,
it just makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And it's exactly. Yeah, that would be great.
Actually, it does make sense. I think Deebo to Baltimore, just the run schemes that they can work in and having him as even keeping Marquise Brown as their X receiver or moving Marquise Brown in as a gadget player where he belongs. Like, there's just limitless options there. And then my third and final possibility is that he manages to get traded within his own division to the Arizona Cardinals. This is something that I was looking at. They're one of the only teams And what the thing that I saw was that they're going to trade Kyler the other way, which I don't think they're going to do because Trey Lance. But
Trey Lance would have to be sent the other way.
I don't think that would happen though. That's too big of a trade. But I like Arizona in the prospect that they just lost Christian Kirk. They can move Rondale Moore. Now that the more I think about it, the less it makes sense. But just the thought that he could get traded within his own division itself is kind of crazy.
I really like Chargers.
Ooh, I don't think they can afford him anymore.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
How about
I don't know
New
if I would
Orleans?
rule out my Giants. I'm just going to put that out there.
Ooh, I don't think you can afford him either, though.
Yeah. Who can?
Remember, he wants to get paid.
But who can afford him then?
I think New Orleans, because they just managed their way out of $55 million of cap, and they can do it again. I think the Jets can afford him. I think Houston could afford him, but he doesn't want to play there.
Right.
I believe that the Chiefs can afford him, which would be dangerous.
That would be.
And not getting my own hopes up, Miami do have enough cap space to get it done.
That would be unfair.
It would be unfair, especially with McDaniel there.
That would be ridiculous.
That would be
because they're all three of them are kind of like the same receiver.
Deebo's
not the same,
everyone.
but you know what I mean. Like can run, are fast, are shifty,
are very helpful for a young quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, but. And then there's the other half of, I would say it's a 50-50 shot. You said I would say 60-40 that he leaves because I just don't think it's repairable, the situation that the rift that they've caused. And I think there's just enough teams that are interested in getting a Deebo Samuel type of guy. But the chance that he does stay in San Francisco, how do you think they pay him? How do you think that works out? They release Garoppolo?
I think they can pay him.
I don't think they can. I think they'd have to restructure a bunch of deals and they'd have to release Garoppolo.
But they want to get rid of Garoppolo. That's the thing.
But they'd have to release him. They wouldn't be able to trade him.
No, they would be able to trade him, but I don't think any team wants to take on that deal. They would then have to restructure it. It might be I don't know.
Because I think they were trying to trade Garoppolo to either Seattle or Carolina earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still in the market. I think there are still teams that are interested. Again, I'm not sure what's kind of holding them back from
him and Baker Mayfield. I don't know what's keeping them from getting a job.
Yeah, I don't really want Baker Mayfield. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is great. I think he can still win games. But I guess that's something. I mean, who knows? Maybe they hold on to. Maybe both quarterbacks stay. Again, that's another kind of.
Yeah, Baker's. Yeah, that's another topic.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Jinx. All right. Well, we hope you guys did enjoy the video. As always, do make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on social media at TheeSportsScoop. And I'm going to drill this into everyone. Draft live stream, first round coverage, full coverage, April 28th, live on YouTube. The draft starts
before we finish this, Deebo Samuel's brother tweeted, he won't be a 49er. That's all that matters.
Wow.
Interesting.
Just as we're finishing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's some way to end it off, ladies.
Oh, no. Trending. Deebo Samuel's brother now says he was just joking around. Thanks, JPA football.
Okay, never mind. Well, that we hope you guys enjoy. Like I just said, draft live stream. Dylan's going to be there. All 4 of these Sports Scoop members are going to be there. So make sure you tune in. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be like ESPN. We're going to have a ton of graphics. We're working on the stream now. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a very interactive stream. We're going to be talking to the chat. And as always, more clips and everything posting on Instagram, posting on TikTok. Help us get to 1,000 followers on TikTok so we can go live.
Yeah, so we
can
go live. Close. Yeah.
And make sure you guys subscribe and draft live stream. I'm telling you, it's coming. And then this is kind of the one exception. We're doing everything NFL draft for videos. This was kind of the one.
We felt that this one was
important. So, well, obviously, we'll be back to regular NFL videos. We're going to be back to offseason moves at the end of the draft, which is pretty crazy to think about. But we hope you did enjoy. Kean McDermott, Dylan Shalom, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.